So I just wanted to cover some of the deeper meanings and philosophical lessons in Batman Begins, as I really think Christopher Nolan really did an excellent job planting several layers of symbols in the overall storytelling. I would say one of the first lessons that really sticks out is the important use of dramatic examples, and I think we see this through the different interpretations in what Batman actually is. And I would say that Batman isn't just out there fighting crime in a literal sense, but he's really doing it to portray a dramatic example to give people in the city hope again that corruption is no longer ruling these streets or that the tide is really turning. And we really see this through Batman's impact on the press. And I would say what's really remarkable here is that even if Batman was just as effective in his actions in engaging criminals, if no one really knew that he was out there doing this, I don't think his impact would be nearly as effective in taking back Gotham. The second thing I think that's a little bit of a deeper understanding in terms of what happens is in relation to Bruce's parents' death. And I really think that it inspired him to become Batman in a little bit of a different sense than the surface level understanding of it obviously creating the drive for what fuels him. And I would say also, even besides just the encounter with Falcone teaching him to wear a mask or to protect not just himself, but really for the people around him that he cares about, I would also say this is the point of his parents' death in terms of that being a lesson that Bruce later realizes when making his trip back home. And if we're looking to the story of Thomas and Martha Wayne, I would really say that their murder marked a pivotal turning point in Gotham, and this is really the act that encouraged corruption to thrive. Since we know that the Wayne family had such a drastic impact on Gotham, their murder, in a lot of sense, really marked the fall of Gotham. So this is really what encouraged criminals to take things to the next level and for corruption to really take over. And we don't really know all of the specifics of Thomas and Martha Wayne's impact on Gotham, but we do know that they had a pretty drastic effect through their charitable work and a lot of their activist work, which really preserved the city. So really, when Thomas and Martha Wayne died, it wasn't just the impact that this had on Bruce, but really that the whole state of Gotham left with them. And I would say the real connection between all of this that maybe gets underlooked is that Bruce realizes, along with the ideology that Ducard teaches him, is that him becoming more of an anonymous symbol is a lot more of an everlasting approach in the long run. And we really see Bruce taking his parents' approach of using their resources to inspire good to the next level. And he obviously does this in a much different fashion. Another really interesting lesson, I think, obviously revolves around the League of Assassins. But I would say the key here is that the League of Assassins training was actually the final lesson in understanding the criminal mind for Bruce Wayne, and I think that this is a pretty interesting spin. We know that since the start of the movie that Bruce ventures overseas to learn about a different side of life and to really understand the criminal mind by living it in a way. But we see him getting lost in the prison and kind of focusing on lower level crimes before really getting put back on track for his mission. And we get this through Ducard's character, who offers him an introduction to the League of Shadows. And I think where the real ambiguity or gray area comes in with this is that even though Bruce is put in a position to learn a lot of elite skills that really elevates him to become Batman in the first place, I think it is a little confusing as to why Bruce does get trained by the later antagonist of the movie. And I think this is really an indirect meaning to this, because I think this really served as the last lesson of what Bruce was looking for on his journey, as it wasn't just the skills or the training or unique perspective that Bruce gained from the League of Assassins, but rather a full insight into their collective criminal mind. As we know, the League of Assassins are revealed to be the shadow leaders behind a lot of the increased corruption in Gotham, as it is their big plan to accelerate the downfall of Gotham. So I would say that a lot of the journey that Bruce goes through in this isn't just to learn all of their elaborate fighting, but it's really his final test in understanding the criminal mind, which is why he's able to return from his journey after this. And the next lesson here I think is a little bit similar to this, but really has to revolve around fear, as I would say that the fear Batman creates is really more of an illusion than anything else, and really isn't just in a literal meaning. And I would say for this that even though Bruce Wayne is extremely well trained and could pretty much best anyone in Gotham in terms of physical combat, I would say that there's really also just something to his persona of Batman that goes beyond just the scary suit, cape, and cowl. Really, the whole idea of theatricality and deception isn't just to throw off criminals through smoke bombs to impair their vision. It's really to mess with their psyche and perception of Batman. And really, all of this is to make him appear larger and more mysterious than he actually is. And this is really serving to create the illusion that Batman isn't just a highly trained and tough combatant, but is even almost supernatural in a way, and really gives the portrayal of being a superhero despite being human. And really the last lesson I would say for Batman Begins is that Bruce Wayne's true inheritance was his moral compass, not his wealth. As I would say, the most valuable legacy that Bruce's parents really left behind was their guiding of Bruce on exemplifying and creating his own moral compass. And even though Bruce's parents died when he was young, we see the strong impression that his father left on him, let alone their entire legacy. And we also see a lot of these family values being reestablished by both Rachel and Alfred, as their relationship with Bruce really often serves as a reminder of their knowledge of his parents. And I would say this is why we eventually see Bruce making pivotal life choices in this film, such as refusing to kill even for the sake of justice. And even though, of course, Batman does break certain lines or laws, it's really his moral compass that separates him from the others and really allows him to embark on this legendary journey. And I would really say that this is where we see Bruce Wayne, or Batman, completing his unique character arc of this film, as we really see him in an interesting place by the end of it. So I would really say that this is an excellent movie to kick off the Dark Knight trilogy. I think that the level of storytelling and overall psychology present in this is what makes this one of the more interesting Batman films, or one of the more interesting films in general. But feel free to let me know your thoughts on this or some of the more profound lessons in Batman Begins, and I'll see you later.